Mark, would you like to introduce our coach and team?
Good evening. Thanks for having us. First of all, I want to start off by thanking the school board and our administration for your support of our athletic programs here. Without your support, the successes that we have been having recently wouldn't be possible. So thank you very much for that. Tonight, we celebrate something truly special, not just a season, not just a team, but a legacy. The 2025-26 South Fayette girls basketball team ended their regular season with a 21-1 record and as undefeated section champs. Their only loss was to a nationally ranked team in Miami Mater Dei. And there's not one young lady or one coach over there that doesn't wish we had the last 2 minutes to play again, because I think we would beat them. We made a really nice comeback. We were down 8 points or so, went on like a 10-0 run, and then we just lost ourselves a little bit. But they ended up, the team they lost to ended up number 15 in the nation. So not too bad, not too shabby of a loss. But I know they wish they had the last 2 minutes to play again. This team also captured the WPO championship by defeating Kiski area 79-18, Trinity 26-23, which was a memorable game for all of us. Peters Township 66-27, and in the championship, Thomas Jefferson 57-38. The team carried that momentum into the state tournament, where they battled through the best competition Pennsylvania had to offer and emerged as the PIAA state champions by defeating Milton Hershey 64-35, Penn Trafford's 58-28, Baldwin 67-46, Peters Township 67-24, and for the second time in 2 years, Archbishop Wood by a score of 45-35. By the end of the season, the South Fayette girls basketball team stood tall among elite programs in the country, earning national recognition and respect while finishing the season with an overall record of 30-1 and a Max Preps number 22 national ranking. That kind of achievement doesn't happen overnight or by accident. It comes from early mornings, late nights, sacrifices, and an unwavering belief in each other. But more importantly to me, beyond the trophies, the medals, and rankings, what makes this team unforgettable is who they are. They are leaders in the classroom. They are role models in the community, and teammates who lift each other up through every challenge and every triumph. They represent South Fayette with tradition, pride, and excellence. To the players, thank you for creating something that will be remembered for years to come. You've inspired younger athletes, brought our community together, and shown us all what is possible when talent meets teamwork and hard work. To the coaches, thank you for your vision, your guidance, and your commitment to excellence. You've built more than a winning program. You've built a culture. So tonight, we don't just honor a championship team, we celebrate a historic one. So please join me in recognizing the 25-26 South Fayette girls basketball team, WPO champs, PIAA champs, and one of the top teams in the nation. Coach will say a few words. If any of the girls want to say a few words, if you have any questions for them, fire at them. Go ahead. They like to speak. They like to talk. They're looking forward.
Yeah. First, I want to thank the school board for honoring us tonight and giving me an opportunity to be part of such a wonderful district. We truly appreciate all your support that you give to this program. We see you in the stands cheering the girls on. And again, South Fayette's a special place. You know, for as talented as a group of kids this is, what made this team special is that they had to learn how to put their egos aside. We have 5 kids currently that are going to play at the Division I level with other kids that definitely have that possibility. And any one of these kids could have averaged over 20 a game, and it could have been about them. And what made this group special is they didn't care. All they cared about was each other and South Fayette having a 1 point margin of victory at the end of the game. And it was unique. We have young kids that could easily have started this year on any team in 5A or 6A. And, they put their egos aside and came to work at practice every day, never complaining. So again, special group of kids, definitely role models of the community. We saw them if you were at our Bethel Park, when we played Peters Township, looking at all the little girls that came to support them and how they treat them. And I have a little 5-year-old at home that absolutely idolizes them. So again, you couldn't ask for better kids to represent a school district or a community. And again, girls, I can't thank you enough for what you did for this school district and our coaching staff this year. Again, very proud of you, and you deserve all the accolades you've received. A few of the seniors would like to come up and speak.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say a quick thank you on behalf of this amazing team right here and the 2 seniors standing behind me. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys. I mean, you guys are a big part of why we made history this year. And you guys have been such a great support through the last 4 years of our career, and especially this last year. So we just wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you for having us out today. And thank you for the last 4 years. Oh, I'm Haley Lamondi, and I'm going to USC Upstate in South Carolina. I'm Juliet, or most people like to call me Juju LaRue, and I'm going to Florida Atlantic University. I'm Ryan Oldecker, and I'm going to Marist University. That's it.
Any questions for them?
I just have a comment or two, if I could. Girls, young ladies, I should say, I come to a lot of your basketball games and I've watched you intently the last few years. I don't know any of you personally, but I can only express my heartfelt thanks personally on my own behalf and on behalf of the district for what you've done for the basketball program here. You've set a standard, blazed a path, established a legacy that we may not see for a while, but I'll look at the coach and say, pressure's on you now and you younger girls to continue that legacy. So thank you very much for what you've done for this community, for what you've done for this school. Thank you, coaches, for your dedication. Thank you for always being there for those girls. And thank you for believing in South Fayette. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
I just want to add to Mr. Frenella's comment. First of all, where's Coach O? Let's see.
Her dog escaped from her fence,
Oh.
so she was tracking it down. So she unfortunately couldn't be here. That was a last minute text I received.
Well, I just wanted to say what an exciting season you guys had. In my house, we planned our work day around making sure we got to the games. We even traveled to Hershey, and it was so exciting. So thank you all. I wish you all the best in your futures, and please keep your friendships close and stay connected so you can carry that friendship on throughout your life. But congratulations. You guys were phenomenal. You guys were the buzz of Washington County, of Allegheny County, and it was really nice to see that.
I'm so proud of you girls. I also came to a lot of games, and I've had the pleasure to watch a lot of you grow up because a lot of, especially the seniors, went to school with Carson, and you've turned into beautiful young women. I'm so proud of all of you. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you. I'm so proud of you.
Congratulations and thank you, ladies.
So
You're welcome to stay. We have some exciting construction updates and budget presentations.
that's 31-0 next year, right, girls?
Senior said yes, really.
But you're also welcome to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Construction updates.
Okay, that's a tough act to follow. I must admit, I saw them play twice because I live in the Mars School District, and they hammered us 2 times. It was a heck of a team to watch play. So on to construction. The intermediate progress, kind of following up with what Tim probably gave you last week at the workshop. Continue with a ton of work on the addition. Just some overall highlights this past month. It is enclosed with the exterior framing and sheathing. Inside, they started the interior stud work on the second floor. It's about 95% complete. The first floor is pushing close to 90% framed, and the ground floor is maybe around 40% framed. Mechanical, electrical contractors have been fantastic, jumping in any new walls that they can and above ceiling with the rough-ins for electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems. The roof started last week. The addition roof is around 80% dried in. We have one last patch in the front of the building to get dried in. The areas that are dried in, they did deliver some drywall for the second floor and started some drywall work. So the interior contractor is trying to maintain a sequence, and once it's dried in, they can continue with the interior drywall work and ultimately get to the finishing and painting stages here starting in May. The outside, these pictures are at this point 2 weeks old, but they have started the air barrier that goes on the blue sheathing that gets behind the insulation and the masonry. So that contractor is on site and has started that work. Next week, the masonry contractor is to mobilize and start building scaffold, what we call the courtyard, which is adjacent to the existing building, and work their way around clockwise with the scaffolding and masonry. So that's a big milestone to get them to the site and start building scaffold. Outside, the rain garden pond repairs commenced literally today to get that system fixed. They'll be on site to continue that work. Globally, again, every contractor on site, the team's working together and collaborating to come up with ideas, approaches, and sequencing to bring this addition to completion in August when it's supposed to be done. The bus garage, there's a picture of the courtyard. So that's where the scaffold's going to get set up first and work their way clockwise around the building. Some shots on the inside. A couple more. So this was when the roof material was delivered about a week and a half ago. Just a picture of the roofers doing the work down in the lower corner. The bus depot facility, again, there is progress there. It's hard to see from just all the dirt that you see on site, but they are establishing and basically have finished all their E&S controls to comply with the Allegheny Conservation District. They have to build a sediment basin that takes the runoff during the construction of the building and the road. That's what they're working on now. That basin should be complete hopefully sometime early next week. They have started cutting in the new drive down to where the building pad is going to be. So those are kind of the two main activities now that's occurring. The lower photo kind of going to be the sediment basin and ultimately a detention pond at the end of the project. Just a couple shots in the field. This is the outlet structure from that sediment basin that needs to go in, inspected by the design team. And that's the gentleman in the picture to the right. A couple more shots of down there. So that's that schedule. That's where they thought they'd be. The basin might be a little bit behind, but globally they're in their sequence for the schedule. The new elementary with the groundbreaking tonight, starting some preparations to really get that started. Alan has been working with utilities to get all the utilities shut down and the services turned off to that site. He's been instrumental in getting that started the last week and a half. We have a couple meetings with the project team tomorrow, and hopefully you'll start to see them mobilize in the field that we had the groundbreaking tonight and start setting up the trailer complex for all the contractors, and actually my new trailer eventually as well. That's kind of where the progress stands for all three projects. If there's any questions or comments related to the progress.
I have one quick question on the bus garage. When are they going to start laying the foundations for the building? Do you know?
I'd have to look at their schedule, but I want to say it was July or August.
July or August?
Yeah. They have some over excavation to do for the building pad. And then they bring it back up with some engineered fill, which is part of the design. So they have to get the sediment basin in first before they can do bulk excavation and start that process. Any other questions from any of the board? There is one change order on the agenda. Right? It's on there. I think Tim probably talked about it last week for R.A. Glancy. Just quickly, a couple items. One goes back to the area C. That was area C, right? Yeah. We had to add some ceilings to comply with code to avoid adding some upright sprinklers, which would have been more expensive. And then the other item on the change order is the music rack cello carts that we're purchasing that ultimately are going to here, right? Something like that. So those are the two items that are on the agenda for approval. Any questions related to those two items? Yes, yes.
Just for clarification, so the current racks that we have at the IS will move to the middle school. That's where there's a need. And then the new racks will go in the IS orchestra room. And that's what we're purchasing as part of that change order.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Any other questions related to construction? Alan, you have anything to add that I'm gonna miss? Okay, thank you.
Anthony?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Ditka. I'm in from the law firm of Dinsmore and Scholl. I'm your bond counsel. I looked it up. I was last here on May 13th of last year when we started a bunch of the financing for all the things that you've seen in the construction photos, and we're here to do part 2 tonight. I watched you all say kind things about the basketball team, so if you'll indulge me for a moment, I will say this is also the 25th year that I've been coming to South Fayette. I have been pleased and proud to see this campus grow in an amazing way. The high school was what I think Teresa and Lem were both at my interview when I first interviewed here. I've seen the most amazing high school I'd seen in Western Pennsylvania get built here on this campus. I was here when the seated board bought the property across the street, when they didn't know what would go there, just with the foresight that this district is on the right path and growing and doing the things. And now we see a groundbreaking where there's a new building. So this is super exciting for me. I do financings all over the Commonwealth, but I do not have a district that has done better over my time with them than this one has. And I continue to be impressed, and I am so happy to be here. Dr. Miller knows I've worked with her at 3 different schools. I don't say these things all the time. The answer is this is a wonderful place to be, and I am grateful to be here. Now I'll keep this super short. Most of you saw the exact same presentation last year. What you have in front of you is a resolution. It is long because it covers a lot of ground. It is to finance part 2, phase 2 of your project. This one is double the size of last year. This says that we can borrow up to $44,500,000, but that is not the amount we'll borrow. You may remember, when you do these kinds of resolutions, we do it on a not to exceed basis. We are building a box that your bond issue will fit inside. Usually these are about 20% larger than what you ultimately will borrow. Will probably be in that $35, $36 million range when we do this borrowing. If we can fit more, if the market conditions are correct, Jamie Doyle and your team at PFM will make sure that we do this right. So the resolution authorizes the issuance of your bonds and pledges your full faith, credit, and taxing power to the repayment of those bonds. All that means is you are borrowing money and promising to pay it back. It authorizes the school district to do all things necessary to close on this issue. So that's why this is partially so long. It gives you carte blanche to finish the project and finish the financing. This is the only public meeting we'll need to borrow the money. It authorizes your officers to sign all the necessary documents, including a bond purchase agreement with whomever buys your bonds at auction. This district has always used an auction system to sell their bonds. You market and sell them, buyers come in, and the best bid is accepted and signed by your officers. It makes tax covenants. You are borrowing money on a tax exempt basis. This is partially why you need someone like me. Bond counsel is part contract and part tax. Issuing on a tax exempt basis is a privilege, not a right, and you have to follow certain protocols. I'm here to guide you through those. Among them, when you borrow this money, you have to have a reasonable expectation of spending 85% of it within 3 years. Your construction is proceeding at such a rate that I don't anticipate that being any problem at all, despite the volume that you're borrowing. But also, you have to have a binding commitment to spend 5% within 6 months, already done with Draw and PJ Dick and their contracts and things. And you have to proceed with due diligence, which I'm sure you want, because you want the foundation for your bus garage set, and you want to have vehicles parked in there soon, and you want to have the intermediate renovations completed and all those things. So I'm here to help you that. The final thing it does is it authorizes me to do a filing on your behalf with the State Department of Community and Economic Development. Anytime a local government, school, municipality, county in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania borrows money, it must be approved by the Department of Community and Economic Development. This is not an approval where they are invading any of your discretion. They're not second guessing your decisions. It is a procedural approval. You have to advertise for the public a summary of this resolution. It has to appear at least 3 days in advance of this meeting. I can tell you it appeared on April 23rd in the Post-Gazette. If you act favorably on this tonight, we run a second ad telling the public that what we summarized for you previously was voted upon appropriately and successfully. We take those two things, signed copy of your resolution and a statement you are within your legal borrowing capacity. We send it to the state and they have 20 days to review it before they give you an approval. And we will shepherd you through that. We will not do that part of this until your bonds are sold. So from the day your bonds are sold to when we close, it's about 25, 30 days. But we expect that the auction is supposed to be scheduled for Thursday. So again, we'll get that filing done early next week and we'll have dollars in your hands to complete construction or continue construction for this district where I think it's early June.
Anthony, what's the market looking like right now? Do you know in terms of what other bonds you've got that have gone out in the last few weeks?
So I will tell you that my stock answer is I'm the lawyer, not the financial advisor. I shouldn't give you this kind of advice, but I've had 3 deals get done the last week and it's strong. Things are doing well. Given some volatility we saw earlier with oil prices up and down, things like that. Honestly, we've had some very successful deals done for districts in Western Pennsylvania that are not dissimilar to this one. A month ago, Seneca Valley priced it and it closed last week. Bethel Park is closing this week, and rates have been good. No one asked, but I'm going to say one more thing. Your project description includes, in addition to the intermediate school, the bus garage, new elementary school, a catch-all that says various and sundry other capital projects throughout the school district. We do that for things like carts to haul cellos. That way we don't have to describe everything in excruciating detail. And when something comes up, you can use these dollars. It just has to be capital. It has to have a decent, useful life and has to be part of your overall project. I feel like you're on the verge of a question. All right. All right,
Thank
last thing I'll do is I'll say thank you to Chris. Mr. Volt is great to work with. We've done this in several schools, and I appreciate his input on these documents and things like that. And Dr. Miller and Ryan are terrific. So thank you.
Hey. Dr. Dyckman?
Good evening. On behalf of the district, I will be sharing our proposed positions to be added for the 26-27 school year, and going through those. I must give you some kind of information before I jump into these. You are not going to see necessarily a traditional position in some of these. So I'm going to give you some backstory and context. Also, I want to let you know that what we are proposing this evening are additional positions. So this is not speaking of any retirements and replacements tied to that. So after much reflection, work, collaboration, working with internal, external partners, stakeholders, really thinking about our system, post-COVID, what we have been seeing as trends coming through with our littlest learners all the way through as we go up to our highest level of learners. We've thought about how can we build a stronger system that supports our students, not at the end of the journey when maybe any of what I will describe as executive functioning or regulation skills or interpersonal skills, not when they're at peak kind of dysfunction, but starting with our littlest lions, we are proposing a position called the HEART educator, and HEART is an acronym where we're really going to be looking at those skills that we have observed, and we wouldn't be alone in the system of education to observe that our youngest learners are coming in with some of these not as matured or developed or pronounced as they have historically. And we're looking at HEART representing the opportunity within a unified arts schedule. It would be paired or complementary in a Schedule 2 learning lab, where students are having an equitable, systematic approach to physical health, emotional well-being, executive functioning. Executive functioning is one of those terms in education we throw around. And if it's not something you deeply know, think about skills such as organization, time management, decision-making. And those are things that you have to ingrain and establish and model and practice. Again, it's not something you can fix easily. You can work on it, but it's not best fixed when they're 14, 15, 16, and near the end of their journey here. The R is for those social skills and conflict resolution in an era with AI, with technology heavy experiences, whether that's in school or out of school. We want to make sure that we are promoting strong social skills and interpersonal skills, and then tech safety, starting at that youngest but developmentally appropriate age of online health and decision making. So this educator would want to run a program that we believe proactively builds the foundational skills that students need to set up their journey to move forward, and to have those early and as early as we can. I think if you would talk to any primary educator, again, not only in our district, but I'll speak only in South Fayette, if they would say, you know, what is missing? And it's the time to attend to these skills with fidelity, with equity, and allowing our students to thrive. They would also say that these are skills that they have noticed shift, and this is across the spectrum and not, you know, exclusively to a few students. So we are proposing a HEART educator. Again, that would be in the unified arts schedule. At the IS, the 3 through 5 building, we are proposing for an emotional support teacher. So this is actually a continuation of a program that started at the K2 level this year. It may be under the umbrella of life skills autistic support, but truly it is supporting and servicing our students in the escalated or the increased number of emotional support needs that we need to provide students. So as you can see, students that have been receiving this type of support or in this setting from K2 are now matriculating to the intermediate school, and we need to be able to provide those services well. Those services are different than a typical or traditional life skills or autistic support classroom, but it is all in the special education, and again, based on the elevated need that we see with our students. All in the same vein, now looking at the other end of the spectrum, we are recommending an Act 93 position. This would be under student support services. So we have been steeped in really looking at our systems and making sure that, you know, there aren't any massive gaps, or that we are shifting as our students are shifting with their needs, with what is being presented. And so this position, a coordinator of integrated student support, would be a full-time, full-year position, really looking at, and again, I'll say tier 2, 3, but that's educational terms. So think of our highest level of need students when it comes to mental well-being, emotional well-being, academic well-being. And this individual would serve in the counseling role, case management. They would oversee the secondary SAP program, which is the student assistance program, which again services and supports and provides additional support to students at the highest level, those tier 2, tier 3. Coordinated services, they would coordinate services, with our counselors, our social worker, our administrators, and our student support services. I think when we look at our system, everyone is working to the maximum, but our needs keep rising and elevating. And so to have somebody really dedicated to that tier 2, tier 3 highest level, and to be able to be a go-between, building student support, being able to be the case manager, being able to work with outside mental health agencies, and to be able to review our well-being student data and relative services. So that is a proposed position. Those are the 3 proposed positions that we have. The other information that I have is a restructuring. So this is within our technology department. So if you look at number 1, we currently in our district have a tech director, an IT manager position, which is currently not being occupied. We formerly had an employee in that role who left our district, and we had an individual as a help desk manager. That person held the role as help desk manager, but has also supported us significantly as that IT manager in name was unfilled. Looking at what our system needs and really evaluating how we can best serve our educational staff, our technology staff, we are not looking to add positions. We are only looking to restructure. So maintaining our tech director, changing what was IT manager, that title wouldn't exist, and help desk manager wouldn't exist. We are looking at kind of 2 arms of the house. We're looking at the manager of technology services, so somebody who is really managing operations and infrastructure and working very closely with the tech director, and then a coordinator of instructional technology. And that's the other arm that's really working with my department, our curriculum director, and looking at teaching and learning. And so the implications and the integration of technology training for staff and serving as that bridge. So again, not adding, just restructuring and looking at new kind of roles and management. And then an adjustment we're making, we had 1 final part-year tech assistant in the building, moving that individual to full-year position. The tech department never sleeps, never rests in terms of needs to repair and things coming in. So to have all buildings equitable at a full-year tech assistant position to support the needs that come in, even over the summer, it's some of their busiest months, we're making that adjustment. So I can pause here, answer any questions that may be interested, or anyone that has anything.
I don't have a question. I just had a comment that I appreciate the additional mental health positions. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Are those positions in the current year budget, or are you proposing them for us to consider them somewhere during the course of the year for inclusion in next year's budget?
So these are all proposed for next year's budget. Ryan, in the proposed budget, has considered those positions.
When I say next year's, you mean 26, 27?
Correct.
Okay, so are we going to have a more further in-depth discussion about these at some point? Because this overview isn't giving me enough information.
We certainly can, and happy to answer any questions. But
Thank you.
those are the positions, and they have been considered in with the budget proposal. But we are happy to further discuss those details.
Thank you.
Mhm.
two questions, Dr. Deichler.
Sure.
In terms of the organizational makeup, the new position that's being proposed, the coordinator of integrated student support, will that fall under Dr. Oliver's umbrella? Will it be a separate department? Organizationally, how do you
It
view
would
that?
fall under Dr. Oliver's department, student support services, would work closely with both middle school and high school administration, but it would come out of student support services. So not an independent department or a standalone. Does that answer?
It does. And then as far as the tech department restructuring, obviously there would be a budgetary impact with that number 2 of going from part-time to full-time. With the restructuring proposed in item number 1, is that, will there be a significant, or well, let me just rephrase that. What budgetary impact would that have?
I'm going to also look to my colleagues here, but I do not believe that the consideration is based on how we have those structured and our proposed for job description, that it would turn out to be a significant cost difference. I don't know if Dr. Miller or Ryan, if you want to speak more specifically.
Yeah, I would not call it significant, but we are anticipating within the budget, some salary adjustments probably would be needed within that.
I think when we would post for that new position, it would also determine what those credentials are with that person coming. We have looked at market research to identify similar positions. It's very difficult to do in tech because what somebody calls a tech position is very different. But knowing what we know about districts to try and get like positions so that we have that market, like what is that kind of average salary, median salary, and we can definitely bring those ranges to you before any decision is made.
Thank you very much.
Certainly.
And full disclosure, that was the point of my question, where I know in other districts that is a massive range. So I didn't know, are we talking about 2 significant budgetary changes?
I don't believe so, based on, as Dr. Miller shared, and we can provide that information looking at credentials and what we see those job descriptions as, and then how those individuals might fulfill them.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. I am presenting tonight the 2026-27 general fund budget for South Fayette Township School District. For the last few months, we have been working diligently with district administrators to put this budget together, and I am appreciative of the hard work of my colleagues in preparing their school and departmental budgets during the process. So to provide some district-wide context, first, reviewing our enrollment history. As you can see, we did see a decrease in enrollment for the current school year, the first time in several years that this occurred. This was driven mainly by last year's very large graduating class. Specifically, we lost a senior class of 307 students last year. There's only one other class in the district of that size. And so, when we lost that class and replaced them with a kindergarten class that's significantly smaller, that kind of drove that decrease. You can see there for 25-26. But taking the bigger picture look at things, when you look at our demographic studies that we had done a couple of years ago, we had for years been outperforming the forecasts done by those demographic studies. I think where we are this year is more in line with where those demographic studies anticipated us. Both Davis demographics and Dr. Stuman's most likely scenarios had us right around this 34-56 range. Both scenarios, though, did anticipate some slight growth again for 2026-27. So that's why up there, even though we did see a bit of a dip for this current school year, we do still believe demographically there is reason to anticipate some additional growth. We continue to see growth in real estate values, but at a more incremental pace than several years ago. We saw about a 0.5% increase over the previous year in real estate value. At the township level, there does continue to be ongoing signs of additional builds. Just looking at residential building permits, we had 85 residential new building permits issued this past year. The year before was 87. So there are still additional signs of that. But due to ongoing reassessment issues, we're only seeing a fraction of that number hitting the actual assessed property value. Here you see the multi-year trend of our revenues and expenditures. For years, as real estate values in the district grew steadily, often at 3 and 4% per the previous slide, we were able to rely on that growth to assist with our expenditure growth. But the two areas, revenues and expenses, nearly equaled each other in 23-24. And this past school year, revenues were surpassed entirely by expenses, and we did report a deficit. As you've heard from several departments during the budget process, we continue to see cost increases all over. From maintenance to athletics to travel to the academic side, the multi-year trend of price increases has been a significant part of our conversation internally during the budget process and throughout the school year. So with all that said, here is where the current general fund budget sits for next year with regard to our state reporting categories. By far, our biggest cost drivers will continue to be salary, benefits, and debt service. With benefits, specifically healthcare and PSERS contributions drive those numbers. Debt service is spread across the bottom there in the 800 and 900 categories. And salary and benefits, you can see, make up 69% of our budget. And when you put together the 800s and 900s categories, which also include contingency and other fees and transfers on top of that debt service, we make up an additional 15%. So digging a little deeper here is a history of the last few years, starting first with personnel. Within these categories, you can see the continued growth of these costs. We are budgeting currently for just under a $1 million increase in salaries district-wide within the budgets, which would be a 2.6% increase. Within healthcare, we are receiving an 8.3% increase in rates from ASHIC. And the PSERS rate continues to remain at a significant level, but it is decreasing from its current number of 34% down to 33.59% of salaries for next year. So the budget increase for PSERS is driven entirely by our increase in salaries. Projecting out the current school year, we are seeing the continued trend of these areas coming in under budget and continuing to be a bit of a source of cost savings for us when compared to the budget. But the overall numbers do continue to drive upwards. In non-personnel costs, the big cost driver is our debt service. That number there, the second from the bottom, includes leases and bonds, and I will have a deeper look at the bond figures on the next two slides. Elsewhere on this slide, we have a few categories trending higher for this school year, the first being utilities. We have seen energy costs rise, and as part of the county consortium, we have electricity rates in place through January 2027, but we anticipate continued increases there, and we'll work with our consultants to get the best information we have as far as those rates and projections. In other purchase services, this increase is due largely to costs for private schools, approved private schools, and outside placements that was referenced as part of the student support services budget. We do annually hold money in contingency for student support services to assist with these increases. We also saw this year an increase in equipment driven mainly by the purchase of the new PA system at the middle school due to the old one's failure at the start of the year. And I also wanted to draw attention to the other category at the bottom. For the current school year, we had budgeted a $500,000 transfer to our capital reserve fund in order to assist with construction funding. Our plan for next school year is to do the same with another $500,000 transfer. As a reminder, this does not actually spend that money. It transfers it to another district fund in order to have it set aside for future use. When we heard from PFM as part of the Act 34 hearing and in discussions following the elementary school bid, we know that they anticipate us needing a district cash contribution at some point throughout this construction process due to some of our borrowing limits. We want to set that money aside now while it's available to ensure that it is there and earmarked for this specific purchase. Also within the other category, we have our contingency account. At this stage of the budgeting process, we are still holding funds there for staffing, maintenance, and student support services. As we take time to evaluate these areas, we will work to either reduce this contingency if possible or distribute it to the appropriate budget line if deemed a needed expense. So as I mentioned, our next two slides focus on debt service. This chart shows the layering in of the bonds that we anticipate needing through 2028 in order to fund our construction projects, with a number at the top of each bar representing the total district expense. The green, orange, and blue bars are the bonds we have previously locked in, and the red bar is the bond that Mr. Ditka was here tonight about, that we will hopefully be locking in at some point within the next week. This year and next year, in terms of total costs, are the biggest jumps on the expense side before the totals settle around a projected 12.1 million in 2030, at which point the projection would be that they would begin to slowly decrease. The other consideration for debt service is net cost. Several of our bonds are partially offset by state or federal subsidies. Unfortunately, these programs are no longer in place for new bonds, and we will begin seeing a few of these reimbursements taper off the next few years. But that is why you see a different number on this slide in terms of net district cost versus the previous one, which just had total district expenses and was not looking at any reimbursement. The far right column there puts the equivalent millage of each of these expense totals per year, just for context purposes. Turning then to revenue, here is a look at revenues by category. Real estate is by far the biggest source of revenue, followed by state reimbursements of PSERS and Social Security, and then basic ed subsidy and earned income tax closely lumped together, each at approximately 7% of the overall budget. Taking a closer look at our local sources of revenue, again, you see the combined real estate and interim real estate numbers dwarfing the rest of our categories. For real estate revenue, I want to make clear that in keeping with past practice, I am building this budget at this time using our full Act 1 index as the increase. With 2 months to go in the process, our recommendation is to keep all possible options open with regard to taxes. The decision regarding millage is only made with the approval of the final budget in June. When we pass a proposed final budget in May, our practice has historically been to do so with the full Act 1 increase reflected, and I recommend to stick with that practice until we get to June. For 2026-27, our Act 1 index is 4.5%, which is the equivalent of 1.2465 mils. Later in this presentation, I will review a few other possible scenarios around millage at lower rates and what that would do to the projected deficit. For the current school year, our real estate tax is about what we anticipated, but our interim taxes underperformed for the second year in a row. So we are planning to decrease that budget amount for next year. Elsewhere in local sources, earned income tax continues to be a very strong performer for us. And we also have seen some additional recovery of delinquent real estate tax. The real estate transfer tax has taken a step back in the current year. As we close out this current year, delinquent real estate tax is an area where there is still some uncertainty as to where we may finish 25-26. Typically, we see a large deposit towards the end of the school year, and we're hopeful that this projection will improve even further for the current school year. Now that Jordan taxes all of our tax collection duties under one roof, and they are working diligently to make up some of the ground that was lost last school year. At the state level, we saw additional funding in basic ed and special ed funding for the current school year, and are optimistic for continued increases in those categories, given the last few years of history. And the same goes for additional ready-to-learn funding. One area that we should be in good shape for this school year, but that we will see a decline for next school year, is in sinking fund revenue. This is the PlanCon funding, the state reimbursement for bonds that I referenced earlier. As those bonds begin to age, we're going to start seeing smaller and smaller subsidies coming in as those bonds get closer and closer to being paid off. And you do see a bit of a dip there next year in the sinking fund. In all, we anticipate a slight increase for the current school year in state projections and see several optimistic signs for additional funds next year that we hope will continue to grow. You also will notice the decrease in PSERS and Social Security revenue. As a reminder, those are reimbursement figures. So if we're coming in lower on revenue, it's because we anticipate coming in lower on the expense side as well. Finally, we have our federal and other revenue sources. Q-SCIB reimbursement will still sit at roughly the same level, and we anticipate possible decreases in our title funding, but also we'll continue to look to draw down our available special ed access funding in an effective, sustainable manner. So that brings our 26-27 revenue budget to $80,310,625, and our current district-wide revenue projection for the current school year is approximately $280,000 above our budgeted amount. So putting that all together in the context of fund balance usage, we began the school year with total fund balance of 31.1 million. Most of that earmarked for various purposes, which I will update on the next slide. My current projection for 25-26 indicates a deficit of just over $4.1 million, but I caution that it is early and will continue to closely monitor this. Though the school year may be close to over, there are still a lot of variables left for us on the financial side. All the way through summer, we'll work on closing out orders and projects, also finishing out payroll through August, and we'll work on the auditing process in August and September. There are always various auditing adjusting entries at year's end that can alter where we finish the year one way or the other. For the 26-27 school year, we are currently budgeting for a deficit of $7.618 million. Again, this is still in the early planning process. We are through the preliminary process, but we will continue to look at district accounts. Many projects will receive firmer pricing in the weeks ahead. Various staffing uncertainties will have greater clarity, and we will do a thorough review and look for ways we can reduce spending or revise our revenue side if we receive notable information. For now, the current budget as presented leaves us a fund balance of $19.346 million. It is also worth noting the row in green at the bottom that this fund balance, on top of that, we will also have $1 million that would have been transferred to our capital reserve fund between this year and next year. Which brings me to our current fund balance assignments. We have kept these as is since 2024. During our audit this past year, our auditor recommended a best practice for the district would be to remove or repurpose the amount we have assigned for PSERS increases. This has sat at $4.5 million for the last few years. PSERS rate increases were a significant concern for some time, but they have been at roughly the same level since 2018-19. And as mentioned earlier, they are decreasing for the coming school year. The recommendation would be to remove that fund balance assignment as part of passing the proposed final budget in May. If we need to make any future assignments, given the size of construction projects on campus and our increased debt service costs, the recommendation would be to assign them to the future capital needs category.
Can I interrupt you a second?
Yes, please.
You're going to recommend that we eliminate the entire PSER budget reserve of $4.5 million?
Yes, I am.
And how do you expect to fund that when it's necessary in the future when those costs go back up again?
So right now, everything from PSERS indicates that those rates are not going to go back up for several years.
I understand.
Yeah.
But at some point they will. So you're suggesting that we just eliminate that fund balance for PSERS and deal with it later.
We can certainly look at reducing it rather than eliminating it.
Just asking the question.
Yep. So my recommendation would be to reduce it to a very minimal amount or eliminate it altogether. Part of that is also that with some of these additional costs as far as the budget goes, we would need to make some adjustments to our fund balance assignments anyway, in order to maintain a positive unassigned fund balance as we project that our fund balance for next school year reduces down to, just over $19 million. So, as mentioned earlier, I wanted to provide a couple of other scenarios to consider around millage. I used 3 other scenarios: our current millage rate, and then at increases of 0.5 and 1.0 mils from the current 27.7 mils. The expenditures would remain unchanged in these scenarios, and the column on the far right shows the different deficits projected in each scenario. Here we have the demonstrated impact of millage increases on the taxpayer at different levels. The median assessed property value in South Fayette for this year sits at $168,500. And you can see the monthly and annual effect on assessment values at each of those different levels of millage increases. Here's an updated comparison list of millage rates in Allegheny County. Of the 43 districts who have a comparable taxing structure, South Fayette is 15th. And of the 20 listed here, 16 of them raised taxes last school year. We will continue to monitor these millage decisions at other districts as we go through the process and update if and when districts make their millage decisions before we do. Finally, we have the next steps in the process. Earlier tonight, we determined we will hold a special board meeting on May 11th to vote on the proposed final budget. On May 19th and 26th, I will provide budget updates to the board. And following the passing of the proposed final budget, all budget information will be submitted to PDE for the proposed final budget, and the paper copy will be available in the district office for public inspection. The plan as of now would be on June 16th for the board to vote on a final budget as well as pass a specific millage rate. So at this time, what questions can I answer?
I don't have a question, but a comment that you need to get your pencil out and start working on those expenditures. Right now, you're projecting $7.6 million in a budget deficit. I don't need to say anything more about that.
Yep, I fully understand that, and we will continue to work through this budget process. Absolutely. Anybody else? Thank you.
All right. We move on to the consent agenda. There are 3 items in the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve 1 through 3 in the consent agenda? Teresa, second by Rebecca. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I don't believe we have anybody here for comment. No old business, no new business. Dr. Miller, monthly report.
Yes, thank you. Last week, Parkway CTC hosted the Board of School Directors for a tour of the facility and provided space for us to hold our construction workshop. Each of you has a folder. Those who were present received the folder, but we have one at everybody's place setting. It really highlights Parkway's programs and offerings, and I did want to just provide a few highlights myself tonight. Parkway serves students from 12 member districts across Western Allegheny County. They offer 16 career and technical programs for students in grades 9 through 12. And the list of all of those programs are found in that packet. We have seen increased growth at Parkway, and it is absolutely incredible thinking about over the past decade, really over doubling our student population there. 1320. So over 1,300 students attend their program annually, and South Fayette students, it is a part-day program. So our students spend their morning here at the high school working on their academics, and then they go and they participate in their trade, their choice of trades in the second half. Currently, we have just over 70 students who are Parkway students. This year especially, Dr. Uracy actually took a group of students really looking at student engagement, and students took a tour who don't typically wouldn't choose to go to Parkway, but they were there to support their peers and to celebrate what they were doing and to give some exposure to them as to the amazing work that they do. Their senior year, they take a test called NOCTI, and that is the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute. This leads to industry recognized certifications, advanced standing in post-secondary programs, potential college credit, increased employability upon graduation. And we're very proud that Parkway has well over a 90% pass rate, really reflecting that strong student preparation and alignment. And additionally, some of the things our board members learned when we took the tour is that there are several public services that they offer. Those are listed. There's actually a sheet in here that really talks about the things at a very reduced rate, but think about kind of that apprenticeship model. Students are getting the chance to do things for clients, whether it be cook, our vet tech program. There's a variety of different services, graphic arts, et cetera. So it's always a great opportunity for them to work with actual clients and to provide those services. So I just want to say that Parkway really is an excellent opportunity for our students. I'm very glad for the 70 plus students here at South Fayette, their ability to really get a quality education, not only here in classrooms, but then there in their programs of choice. And I'm just very proud. So if you have any questions ever, please let us know, or if you'd ever like a tour. I know that the executive director and the administration there would be happy to have you at any time, but, thank you. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Now, Pernita with the student representative monthly report.
Yeah, thank you. Throughout the month of April, South Fayette students focused heavily on academic growth as all buildings participated in the PSSA testing in language arts, math, and science. This district-wide effort marked an important checkpoint in measuring student progress while reinforcing accountability and preparation across grade levels. Across the district, schools also emphasized awareness and recognition initiatives. April was celebrated as Military Child Month, with students and staff participating in Purple Up Day to honor the resilience and experiences of military-connected students within the South Fayette community. The district continued to provide a variety of opportunities for student engagement beyond the classroom. At the high school, students participated in spring concerts, award ceremonies such as the Best of Our Best, and other activities that highlighted student achievements in academics and the arts, while they also continued preparations for end-of-year milestones. At the intermediate and middle schools, students remained engaged through academic planning, testing preparation, and service opportunities. Students participated in donation drives and community-based initiatives, including efforts to support children's hospitals and local organizations, reinforcing a commitment to service and leadership. In athletics, South Fayette teams transitioned into the spring season with strong performance across multiple sports. Additionally, South Fayette continued to prioritize student and family well-being by expanding mental health resources and increasing awareness efforts in response to student needs. Families and community members are encouraged to stay informed on these initiatives through school board meetings and district communications as the year progresses. Thank you.
Thank you. Business office, there are 7 items on the agenda. We do have to separate number 5 for roll call vote. Are there any questions or comments 1 through 7 in the business office?
I have a question on number 6. May I ask?
Yes,
So do we have a number of students that participate or percentage? You don't have to, you can just email me. That's fine. Or email the board, I should say. And then 17.5, is that a year or is that per child? That's the total cost. And last question is, it mentions the criteria. It's 11th and 12th grade students that are selected. So could you give me some information on what the criteria is, how these children are selected? And the final question was transportation. Are we providing transportation? Are the students reporting to our district and then we're transporting? And you can answer that in an email too, but just make a note of those questions and send out the response if that's okay with everybody on the board. Okay, thank you.
Just to share, we've used them before. It's very few students who we have used have needed this support. We'll get you all of those answers. We can absolutely do that, but it's been a program that is there. We sometimes don't need it and don't have students, but it's there in fact, if we do.
So to add on to that, is the diploma based on completion from Keystone Oaks, or is it a South Fayette diploma? And do the children walk with South Fayette or Keystone Oaks? That's it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions in there? Are you comfortable continuing with 6 then, or we? Okay.
Very comfortable continuing. Thanks for asking.
Is there a motion to approve items 1 through 4, 6, and 7? Teresa? Motion by Teresa. Second? Esther, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for 1 through 4, 6, and 7. And then guess we need a roll call vote on 5. Geez. That's for the bond. Do I have a motion to approve number 5?
So moved.
Moved by Len, second by Mike. All right. Susan?
Okay. Mike,
Roll call vote, right? Roll call. Yes. It's roll call. Yeah. Teresa? Yes. Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Esther?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes. Motion carries. Personnel, we have 8 items that were on the agenda last week, plus 5 new ones. Dr. Miller, can you help me with those?
Absolutely. So we do have the items that are listed in your agenda. Items to be read into. Item 1 is a recommendation to hire Adrian Day as intermediate school assistant principal at a salary of $85,000. Effective date to be determined pending all required documents. Item 2, a recommendation to approve Trong Tran as a volunteer assistant wrestling coach. Item 3 is approval to hire Casey Teagarden as high school chemistry long-term substitute, effective around May 11th for the end of the year. She's currently a high school building sub. Item 4 is a recommendation to approve building substitute teacher Skylar Aiken, Claire Kusarovi, and Jonathan Barsati. Item 5 is an approval, a recommendation to approve Slippery Rock student Joseph Luca as a student teacher with Kara Pappas as well as Tara Kahowski, beginning next school year through October.
Any questions, comments on?
Can we take item 1 separately, please, Mr. President? Can we take item 1 separately, please?
Item 1?
Yes.
Of the new.
Under new, item 1 separately, please.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion to approve carry over items 1 through 8 and new items 2 through 5.
So moved.
Moved by Rebecca, second by
Second.
Teresa. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve new item 1 in personnel?
So moved.
Moved by Rebecca,
Second.
second by Esther. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I vote no.
I also vote no.
For the record, before we proceed, may I make a statement?
Sure.
I want the record to reflect that my no vote is not to be construed as a personal reflection or a personal comment in regard to the candidate, as she seems like a fine person. However, when filling a position, it is imperative to match the required job duties and description of the job to the background, experience, and qualifications of the candidates. In this particular situation, it is my personal opinion and belief that there is a different candidate whose background, experience, and qualifications are much better fit and match for this job. And therefore, I am compelled in good conscience to vote no. Having said that, and I'm looking at the candidate who's here in the audience, I hope you accept my no vote as a challenge and as motivation to excel. And please don't disappoint the administrators and the board members who have approved you for this job. This is going to be a very overwhelming and difficult job for you. Thank you.
Motion still carries with 7 yay votes.
Since we have our candidate here, Adrian, I have to say, welcome. We are absolutely excited to have you on our team. And I know that with Justin Lubator as the principal and you as our assistant, that we have great opportunity. And I want to tell you that our academic team is ready to welcome you, support you. We'll provide lots of green clothing for you. If you don't have green, get ready because we'll be there for you. However, we are very excited for you to join our team and we look forward to working with you. We always talk about leading and learning together, and I feel confident that you on our academic team will help us do that collectively with Justin at the IS and then with our academic team in the district. So I want to thank you and welcome you to our team. Of course.
Congratulations and welcome. You're free to say a few words if you'd like.
My name is Adrienne Day, and I would like to say that I am very thankful and grateful for the chance to serve as your new assistant principal at the intermediate school. I value your trust and your faith in me for this role. I will accept your challenge. I look forward to it. I'm excited to work with your talented staff and teachers. I'm excited to work with your community members. I do think Justin and I will make a great team to continue the academic excellence your district is known for. And most of all, I'm excited to meet your students. I can't wait. I can't wait to meet the kids, and I'm just really excited to get started. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Education, we have 4 items on the agenda. Any questions, comments on education? Do I have a motion to approve 1 through 4 in education?
So moved.
Moved by Mike, sorry, Jason,
Second.
seconded by Esther. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2 construction items. Any questions? Comments? Construction. Motion to approve items 1 and 2 in construction. Moved by Rebecca.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Miscellaneous, we have 1 item. Any questions, comments? Motion to approve number 1 in miscellaneous.
So moved.
Moved by Tom,
Second.
second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Still no one here for comment. Solicitor's report,
No report from me tonight.
no report, board comments. I don't. Rebecca. Foundation?
There's a meeting next week. I'll have something in May.
Esther, PSBA?
GPS has a learning lab be in Harrisburg on May 4th and 5th for a demo. And if any district likes the demo, they can decide to have the lab at their district for $5,000 for a week. They have U.S. geography exploration, high demand career pathways, military career pathways, safe to say something training. It also provides staff and governance team modules such as school-based safety scenarios, de-escalation and student behavior scenarios, and a cybersecurity breach tabletop simulation. So there you go.
Parkway, Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I have a few items from our last meeting I wanted to read. So graduation coming up, and the Joint Operating Committee reviews the 2025-26 graduate placement report. And there are 88% of graduates gainfully placed after graduation from Parkway. And that's defined by PD as relevant employment, further education, or military after graduation. There was another item I wanted to bring up about the public improvement grant. So Parkway is submitted for a public improvement grant to replace the main building roof and windows. So it's an aging building that they are trying to, or we are trying to do repairs on, and there is this grant that will likely be available to help with that. I think I mentioned before about summer camp, but I wanted to read that in also. Parkway's annual summer camp, career exploration camp for middle school students will be held on Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. And the Parkway West CTC Senior Recognition Ceremony, I mentioned before also, that's Parkway's ceremony will be held on Wednesday, May 13th at Robert Morris University. And you can contact Darby or the administration at Parkway if you have interest for attendance. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe, anything with Shasta?
I do. One update, very special congratulatory update, because earlier this month at the April 11th Shasta Spring Conference, which was held at the Hilton Garden Inn at South Point, several of our Lion educators, Dr. Miller was there, high school assistant principal, Mrs. O'Brien, board colleague, Dr. Alexa joined us, and several of our high school educators were present in order to honor two of our senior students from the class of 2026 as the annual Shasta awardees. And I want to publicly recognize Dara Alexa and Raina Campbell, two of our seniors that were awarded Shasta award, or they were Shasta award recipients that morning at South Point. Dara had a conversation with both Dara and Raina while we were there, and both of them have very bright futures ahead of them. And Dara is pursuing a career in dentistry, and Raina a career in welding. So very, very pleasant morning and a very, very special morning of honoring Shasta nominees. And for those of you that may be listening and that are not familiar with Shasta, I think that it would be a good opportunity to highlight what Shasta, what that acronym stands for. So the South Hills Area School Districts Association, also known as Shasta here at all of our meetings, is a collaborative network of school districts interacting to improve public education in the South Hills area of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting? Moved by Rebecca,
Second.
second by Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.